Okay, so I hope you guys can hear me now. Yeah, so today we are going to be reviewing a number of things. First thing, of course, is we are going to be going through what's happening with Japan's economy and how that, of course, is affecting the USDJPY and the GBPJPY. And then we shall also do a review of what's happening in the US indices and see what opportunities lie there. So I want to take you guys, first of all, to the economic calendar for Thursday, where we saw a decline in the GDP data. If you look at the GDP data we got on yesterday, Thursday, during the Asia session, we actually saw that there was actually a nice a dip there on the GDP. And Japan, of course, dropped into negative territory, again indicating that there are signs of very down and a recession. So for those of you that maybe might not be aware, the reason why Bank of Japan has been very hesitant on going on doing a fully blown being fully hawkish, or looking at hiking at being a bit slow with their rate hikes, is simply because the economy has been very stagnant, and they have not been getting their targets on GDP. And the other thing also is that the inflation has also been extremely low. So on one hand, we have a policy where the Bank of Japan is looking at moving away from decades-long policy of cutting rates, and now they want to switch over to start hiking rates. But then here you have a situation where the GDP data that's coming out is showing a lot of signs of slowdown, and of course even signs of a bit of stagflation. So I think this again explains why we're also seeing a relatively high USD/JPY rate. If you've been trading the JPY pairs, I think you guys must have observed that even after the very weak GDP data, rather the weak CPI data we got on Wednesday, that still did not alter the move for USD/JPY. As the other USD pairs are selling, we have been seeing that USD/JPY has actually been buying, and I think that has a lot to do with that carry trade, where traders are looking to increase their USD/JPY longs, and of course also cut back on their JPY longs. So let's just go to the GDP data that we got and just do a review and see what it's looking like at the moment. So if you look at the GDP data at the year-over-year basis, this is what it's looking like. So you can see here that we've been having a relatively weak GDP from Japan. And meanwhile, for those of you that might not be aware, keep in mind that Japan has been faced with a lot of natural disasters. They had the tsunami, and even before that, if you recall, after the World War, during the World War II, there was that nuclear explosion on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's really been a story of building back their economy and getting back on their feet. So I think that has really weakened the currency quite a lot, and we're also seeing that reflect. We are seeing some of those things even affect them even in this day to day in 2024 that we are in. So the GDP data yesterday allowed us to look for buys on USD/JPY and also buys on GBPJPY. Um, Faith, you're saying you can't hear me. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Am I clear? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check. How clear am I? Hello. Okay. So Faith, kindly check on your audio. I can confirm that I'm actually loud and clear. So Faith, kindly check on that audio. Yeah. So we had the GDP data yesterday, and of course we seeing, where, as we'll see on the charts, we saw that there was actually a nice move higher on the USD/JPY and of course GBPJPY. Now the other thing, of course, is if you look at the Nikkei, you'll notice that the Nikkei, which is the index for Japan, has also been on a steady uptrend. We're actually able to touch record levels around 2022, March 2022. And at the moment, we're a bit far from that all-time high, but we have been on a steady uptrend. So this, of course, has a lot to do with the yen weakness. So if you're trading the Nikkei, you can expect to see more moves to the upside. Now, just to set things clear, since of course today we are going to talk about the US indices and review the US indices. For those of you that might not be aware, we're in a bull market on a lot of things. We're in a bull market on crypto. We're in a bull market also on the stock market. A lot of the different stocks are now in fully blown bull markets. If you check on the S&P 500 map, which I decided to have open for you guys to get a bit of context on how things are looking like, 70% of the S&P 500 stocks are above their 200-day moving average, which is a typical sign of a bullish market. And if you look, you can check on this using FinViz. FinViz will give you a nice view of how the stocks are doing. So if you look at the 6-month performance, this is how most of the stocks are doing. Keep in mind, guys, that you can actually trade these stocks on FX Pesa. If you don't have an account with FX Pesa, check the link in the bio. I believe the link in the bio has information on how you can open up a new trading account. If you're new to trading, again, we have a lot of resources on YouTube to help you with that. But for a lot of us, like the J Squads and the Apollos who are already in a trading world, you guys might want to take advantage of some of these gains on the stocks, and you can trade them on FX Pesa. So you can see 6-month performance for some of these big companies like Google. Google is up 30%, 6-month performance. If you take it to 1-year performance, the stocks are even high, are up even much more. So look at Nvidia, look at AMD, Amazon, Google, APL. Most of them are actually up quite a bit. So again, this of course reinforces that bullish uptrend that we are in on a lot of the markets. So just to speak a bit about the recent CPI that we had. So we had CPI on Wednesday, and I believe from the last time we had a snapshot on the last snapshot we had, I think, was on Wednesday. I hope you guys were able to benefit from the guidance I provided you. That CPI that we had actually was weak for the dollar. We had the CPI dropping quite substantially, and it dropped on all the different fronts. If you're looking at core and headline, monthly and yearly basis, the CPI actually was down quite a bit. And of course, if you trade NASDAQ on FX Pesa, you'll notice one of the reasons why we had the NASDAQ breaking all-time high was because of that really, really slow and weak CPI that we got. So you can see the headline CPI came in, it dropped from 0.4% to 0.3%. The year-over-year CPI also dropped from about 3.5% to 3.4%. We also had a drop on retail sales, again reinforcing that slowdown. So again, since I wanted today to be a day to really base more on the fundamentals, one of the reasons why the Federal Reserve might have to cut rates is because they do not want an economy getting into a kind of a slowdown. And the fact that we are seeing consumer spending reduced quite substantially based on this retail sales data, and of course, even that slowdown on inflation could indicate to us that now is the time that the Federal Reserve is going to look into cutting rates. So, which means that we are going to see the DXY starting its downtrend very, very soon. The election fever is also going to kick in soon in the US, because on the 27th of June, we have the very first presidential debate between Biden and Trump. So I believe a lot of those factors are going to start playing in as we go along. But this CPI reading was very, very strong, and we saw that as we'll check on the charts, a lot of things are still are holding onto their gains because of that CPI reading. So I think from now, let's cross over to the charts, guys, and see what the technicals are looking like at the moment. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them, and I'll be able to handle them as we proceed. Okay, so time for the MT5. Let's cross over there quickly. Okay, awesome. All right, so you guys should be able to see the chat momentarily. You guys should be able to see the chat momentarily. Give it a few moments. I think you'll be able to see it soon. All right, so we are starting with GBPJPY. So GBPJPY, I believe we hinted a bit on it we've been hinting a bit on it in the market snapshots, simply because it's one of the few currency pairs that has a unique opportunity to trade, since its price action has been quite steady, quite fairly predictable, and of course presenting very good opportunities for a lot of FX Pesa clients to benefit. So as you can see how GBP JPY has been trending. We've been trending quite nicely, and we are now actually trading above our premium zone on the H4 time frame, on the H1 time frame. We're above that 50% Fibonacci key retracement level of 195, rather 194. And from the GDP reading we got yesterday, that was the 16th of May, we've seen that the GBP has been on a steady uptrend. So for those of you that might not be aware, if you recall, I think a few weeks ago, that was, I think, towards the end of April, we saw for the very first time an intervention from the Bank of Japan. We normally tend to call these interventions stealth interventions. And the reason why we call them that is because a stealth intervention is essentially geared not to scare the market or to surprise the market. So ideally, what it does is that a central bank will, rather the government of an economy, will intervene in the currency market to try and stabilize the currency. But it works in a way that we'll only see the effects for a limited time. So that's why you see that every single time we've been having a very nice pullback from interventions, we've been seeing that it's actually been recovering quite steadily. But if you see from the very first time we had an intervention to where GBP/JPY bottomed, that was around here. We saw that was a pullback of about 1,000 pips. So now, looking from where we bottomed, that was below our 61.8% fib level, and again below our 200-day moving average, we saw that this was a good opportunity to actually buy, because these were the demand zones for GBP/JPY. Now, in addition to that, we are seeing that from this demand area where demand picked up, price action crossed back into the 200-day moving average, and now it crossed even into that premium zone on the H4 time frame, taking us higher by about 600 pips. So if someone were to ask me whether there's really anything that the Bank of Japan is doing, I believe yes. To an extent, I believe it's there. But there is what we call a carry trade. So the carry trade is very, very active right now on the JPY pairs. And the reason for that is because traders and investors are focusing, putting their money more in the pound as opposed to the what? To the JPY. For instance, I can give you this kind of scenario. Seka Logo, you're saying you can't hear me. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Okay. Seka Logo, I think the audio is yours. Okay. So just check on your audio, please. Yeah, guys. Kindly check on your audio. My audio is actually clear. So if you know that you're having issues with your audio, please check on your mic first, because my audio is actually clear. So yeah, so back to what I was talking about, the GBPJPY. So at the moment, we are nicely into that premium zone, and the way things are looking like for GBPJPY is that we are most likely going to get a much bigger move to the upside. What I know is that the Bank of Japan most likely is not going to 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 be very hawkish, and yes, they have tried to wind down on their asset purchases. I think they might want to resume, or they are most likely going to resume, so that they can help to prop up the economy. So for them, I think it's uh, 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 for them to have a stable economy as opposed to them having a fairly weaker currency. So I think we are most likely going to see GBPJPY steadily moving up there over the next few weeks. And yes, we are going to get pullbacks here and there, but the price action is still looking steady to the upside, and I believe this is going to allow us to see a relatively stronger GBPJPY. So how you trade it, guys, is that you trade retracements. Okay, you trade retracements. The moment you get a retracement, you look for an entry point, and I think that's how we have been guiding. So the way the chart has been trending, you can see that there have been several points for you to actually get into those retracements. So you had a nice move to the upside here. Uh, then every single time we have that move closer to the top of our box, we see that the price has been, moving steadily down. So if you look at the price action from for GBPJPY, it typically tends to have pullbacks during the Asia session, simply because that is when it's most active. There are typically pullbacks during the Asia session, so you might wait. You might want to wait for the Asia session. Um, you might want to wait for the Asia session, and then you can get into some entry points before you see a nice move to the upside. Okay, so keep in mind, guys, that of course the interventions from the Bank of Japan are not done. So as you're trading this, make sure that you use a stop loss. You can look for some swing trade opportunities, so that you do not have to worry about your trade going into loss and staying in loss for long. So this would be a very good swing trading opportunity for you as you progress. So before we cross over to the US indices, I want to look at USDJPY. So USDJPY, this is what we had with USDJPY. The CPI data we got this week was actually bearish for the dollar. I'm sure most of you agree, simply because we saw actually a dip on the core and headline CPI data for the US, where they all declined quite a bit. And of course, that had a sell for USD. Anything that any of the currency pairs where we had the USD as the best currency, we saw that there was actually a nice move to the downside for them. So we had a very nice sharp sell for the USDJPY from the CPI data. But like I said, the carry trade for JPY pairs is still strong. And regardless of USD weakness, I believe that the USDJPY is going to stay quite strong. Now, if you go on the H4 time frame, this is what things are looking like for USDJPY. We are also trading above that discount zone, and we are now looking towards breaking our 38.2% fib level. That's somewhere around 156.042. So I'm expecting that over the course of today and possibly even into next week, we are going to see USDJPY reclaiming this level here that we had sometime before we got the CPI, and we should see a nice move potentially to the upside that will then allow it to move progressively closer to that 23.6% level. Now, like I've mentioned, guys, the interventions, of course, have been getting traders unaware. That is why a stop loss comes in handy. So if you do not use stop loss, you're most likely going to get on the wrong side of this market, and every single time you have an intervention like the ones you've been having, you're going to get the market pushing you out. So make sure that you have a stop loss. Yeah, but for today, if you want to look at it even on a lower time frames, we are seeing a relatively strong move to the upside. Even in today's Asia session, we had a very nice golden cross on a 15-minute time frame. That golden cross appeared today at about 2 a.m. So the golden cross again is a sign of bullish momentum, and we had that golden cross somewhere around 155,300, providing um, upside, potential. So this again is a sign that we are going to see a relatively stronger USDJPY. So you might want to look for buys there. And again, buy whenever you get the retracements. Uh, Typically, the retracements tend to be anywhere between maybe 40 to 50 pips. So when you're setting your buy limit orders, you can use that as I know it's not easy to set buy limits. So usually when you're setting buy limits, you look at the average pullback for every currency. You can find that online. You can go online and look for the average pip movement for the currency pairs. You can also be able to find the average pullbacks that these currency pairs typically tend to have, especially during the quieter sessions. Like for now, if you see after the CPI, we have not been getting any data yet for USDJPY. So this again is a sign of bullish potential, and we should see how that plays out over the course of the next few weeks. Now, time to cross over to the indices. Guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to send them in so that we can handle them. Yeah, so this is a US30Roll on FX Pesa. It's available to trade for those of you that trade US indices. I had spoken sometime, I think in one of the snapshots, we had looked at how the US 30 has actually been in a nice steady uptrend, and we saw that the move higher for US 30 took it from around this level of 37,200. That's why it bottomed around April before it started moving to the upside. So at the moment, US 30 roll is actually up about 8%, okay, from that low, okay. However, keep in mind, guys, that we're in a bull market. We're currently in a bull market. I know some permanent bears, or perma bears as we call them, may not admit that we're in a bull market. You're still insisting that we are going to crash. We're in a bull market, guys, and we are still seeing those signs. The all-time high was crossed in December. And just an interesting fact for those of you that might not be aware, since we crossed the all-time high for US 30, we have not seen a retracement back below that all-time high. US 30's all-time high was 36,900. Okay, 36,900. That was the all-time high for the US 30. Somewhere around, I believe, here. Okay. The lowest we were able to get to that point was 37,200. So we have not even broken below the previous all-time high, which is a typical sign of a bull market. Now, looking at where US 30 is at the moment, US 30 bottomed or created its first low for the year on the 19th of April. And we're seeing that at the moment it's up about 7.5% from that level. Now going into June, that we are soon going to be in June, what I'm expecting is that we're going to see a pullback. Okay, we are going to see a pullback for the US 30. And of course, this might interest swing traders such as myself. If you are a swing trader, and again, I usually recommend for those of you that are trading to look for trades. If you're doing swing trading, you might want to focus on trades on the indices, since they tend to provide a lot of profit opportunities. Now, we are up about 7% from the first low of the year, which is somewhere around 37,228. And at the moment, I'm expecting that we're going to see a nice pullback for the US 30. It may not happen fully today, but we are going to see possibly a pullback of close to 4 to 5%, that from current levels would put the price somewhere around here. Okay. Uh, I don't think we are going to see a move for US30 below 38,000. The lowest you can get that will then possibly create something like a higher low for the US30, possibly maybe sometime around June. I'm expecting something like this. So we shall get a break below our 200-day moving average, but we shall stay above our April lows, something that would put us maybe around somewhere here, okay? And then from this level, that will then now manage to take out 40,000. US30 tried to take out 40,000 around here. We failed to do that. We have tried it here, but at the moment, it does not seem like it's going to manage to, it's not going to manage to break below. So at the moment, I suspect that we are going to see a pullback that will take us down to that 8,400. And once we get that, then we can expect to then see the bull market to continuing for us to see a move possibly to 41,000, 42,000. So now I know that as we go into the second half of the year, which of course is going to be second half of the year. We're counting January, February, March, April, May, June. Those are the first 6 months. So soon as we enter July, we need to be very careful and look for key levels and zones on these charts. But already now, this is what I'm expecting soon for the US30. Either we get a nice move to the upside at once, or we see a nice general pullback before we see it moving and taking us all the way that side. Okay. Now, I'm going to the NASDAQ. I don't know where my NASDAQ is here. I need to look for it. UT, okay, it's right here. So this is how the NASDAQ is looking like. If you guys recall, the last time we met, we actually said for the CPI, you can just I can just refer you guys back to the snapshot for Wednesday. The snapshot for Wednesday, if you recall, uh, the snapshot for Wednesday, if you recall, we actually saw, I indicated to you that in case the CPI comes in lower, then we shall then see we shall then see Nasdaq breaking all-time highs. You can check the snapshot on Wednesday. I think I provided that guidance, and without a doubt, guys, we had the Nasdaq breaking all-time highs, and I actually indicated to you that before that all-time high break, the Nasdaq was already showing signs of strong upside momentum. Uh, in addition to us having a very, very strong earnings season, we've also been having very, very strong upside momentum for the tech stocks. And a lot of signs are also indicating that retail investors and institutions have been loading up on loading up on these tech stocks since the demand and the forward guidance, especially with regards to AI capabilities, has also been propelling these stocks quite higher. So I think that is also we are going to see that play out with the Nasdaq. However, like I've advised, if you see how the Nasdaq traded from April, okay, rather yes, from April, we bottomed at around here. That was the bottom for the Nasdaq, the first bottom for the year, and then we saw it moving as high as 10%. So again, we will then expect to see the Nasdaq having a temporary pullback that possibly will give it a pullback of maybe between 3 to 4%, closer to its 200-day moving average before then we see it moving higher. Now we have NVIDIA earnings, and the NVIDIA earnings again are going to have a very, very big impact on the indices. I don't expect NVIDIA earnings to be bad. Of course, they're going to have very strong earnings simply because their demand has been good. Revenues have also been quite high. The demand has also been incredibly high for AI chips. A lot of companies are making orders. Nvidia is making orders with governments, the Chinese government, the US government, and even for some of the big multinationals around the world. So I think that's really going to have an impact for the UT100, and we should see it moving quite higher. Now, again, like I've advised guys, we should see a temporary pullback of between 2 to 3% before we see the before we see the market moving higher. Okay, question time. If you have any questions, guys, now might be the time for you guys to send in your questions. Feel free to send in your questions, uh, especially if it's regarding the JPY pairs, um, or maybe if you need me to maybe go through something else briefly, I can do that for you. Just let me know what it is exactly you need me to review, and I'll be able to review it quickly. So, just squad, you're talking about the BTC. What's your take on BTC current momentum? Just squad, yeah, it's been a minute. I hope you're doing great. You've been quite quiet and missing out in action on the snapshots. It's good to see that you're with us today. Now, BTC USD. I have BTC on the weekly. So we've been having quite a lot of announcements that have actually been, you know, uh, 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 on the fundamental side of it. We've been having quite a number of announcements. So let me just take you guys back to my Chrome so that you can have a look at this. So we've been having quite a bit of announcements from looking really from things like Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, I'm sure you guys know about Andrew Tate, who has also said that he's going to invest about 100. He's going to turn 100 million of his he has and he's going to put $100 million of his fiat money in cryptocurrency. And of course, that of course is something that will drive retail enthusiasm into the market. In addition to that, the CME Group has also announced that it's also going to uh, uh, launch Bitcoin trading, and I'm not so certain when this is going to take place. However, this comes, as a announcement for Bitcoin enthusiasts. And again, if you want to take the opportunity to invest in Bitcoin, guys, Bitcoin BTC USD is tradable on FX Pesa's platform. I usually advise that you need to be careful where you get your information from regarding Bitcoin and all of these kinds of things. So make sure that if you want to get involved, you can get involved via FX Pesa's Premier account. On a Premier account, FX Pesa does not charge commissions, so you don't have to have a very big cost of trading when you're trading cryptos. And again, the margin is very, very low. If you're trading cryptos such as Solana on FX Pesa's platform, you have margin as low as 20 cents, which I believe is quite affordable for everyone. So some of these things again are some of the headlines that are also coming in. Oh, congratulations, Just Squad. I wish you congratulations on your newborn son. I'm happy to hear that. And we welcome him to this amazing of ours. We hopefully you need So we should see BTC USD possibly move higher over the next few months. And again, you can trade BTC USD on FX Pesa's platform. There's zero commissions charged for trading. Okay, guys, yes, apologies, J Squad and Molombe. There was a bit of a disconnection there, but I think we are back. Yeah, so we were in a steady decline from the previous peak that was in 2021 on BTC USD. And when we saw, BTC USD say declining from this high, it bottomed around here, okay? And after bottoming around here, we then saw a recovery that has taken us back to peak levels. Now, we're not only back to peak levels, but we have actually taken out peak levels, which is a sign of bullish momentum. So I'm expecting over the course of the next few months, you are going to see Bitcoin, testing new highs, and we shall see how to be able to benefit from that. So just saying, on what time frame do you draw channels? I draw my channels on the higher time frames. On the H4 time frame, especially, is when I typically draw my channels, and essentially I try to arrange uh, my candlesticks in a way that I get the overall trend of the market to guide me on essentially how I expect things to evolve and to move. Okay, there's have a question here. What is your view on UT100? Which news affects this index? Uh, Now, for the news that affects UT100, there's quite a bit of news. Usually, the UT100 is affected a lot by inflation data. If you recall, in 2022, when we had very, very high inflation, very high inflation, especially for the US and for some of the other countries around the world. I remember in Uganda, 2022, our inflation had reached even as high as 8-9%, and now at least it's at about 3.2%. It's now steadily declining. But whenever inflation reduces, you're supposed to be looking for buys on UT100. And whenever inflation increases, you look for sells on UT100. Now, in addition to that, corporate actions also affect the UT100. Whenever we have announcements such as maybe we have a new CEO taking over a particular company, or maybe things like mergers. If maybe, for instance, you have a merger between Netflix and maybe another company, like maybe WWE, or if you have like an acquisition, I'm sure you guys have been seeing a lot of those corporate actions taking place. Like we know, recently we've had Netflix partnering with WWE, and they are going to begin showing those games. Even NFL is also going to be showing on Netflix, I think in 2025. So a lot of those things tend to affect the index. Then, of course, earnings also are one of the things. Earnings seasons, every 3 months, you usually have earnings, and whenever the earnings come out good, it's normally very good, affect thing something that affects the currency. Okay, someone is asking, what is your most tradable pair today? So for today, today's snapshot actually is geared towards providing a general outlook for how the markets have been. But if I'm to look for opportunities today, I would I would be looking for opportunities on maybe things like US30, and also on things maybe such as the Nasdaq. But I would want to focus on the US Open. At the moment, price action is extremely muted. Uh, if you're looking at price action on many things, like GBPUSD, Euro USD, the price action is very muted. We're having, of course, I'm seeing that there's a nice sell there on Euro USD today. There's a nice candle dip there of about 17 pips. But the price action is quite, I would say, muted at the moment, because we had that strong move, or we had a lot of price action for the CPI. Yeah, but wait for the US session and observe and see what happens there. Of course, the pullbacks are likely to happen, like on Euro USD. This, of course, is not a surprise because the markets, of course, had bought a lot, and now we are seeing that pullback coming in. So someone is asking, why is US 500 declining? Is it? Let me just take a look at it. I haven't been reviewing US 500 for some time. I don't know whether I still have it on my MT5. I need to just look for it somewhere here. Should be somewhere here. Let's see. Seem to be seeing it. US 500. Okay. Okay, I think I need to add it. I don't have it on my open charts. So let me just look for it here. So I don't think US 500 has been declining. I don't know what time frame you're looking at that, Ian. What time frame is that you're looking at it from? That is US 500 roll. Okay, that's the US SPX. So US 500 roll is the symbol we are interested in. Okay, the one that you've asked about. And for this one, okay, this should be already showing on my market watch. Let me just give me a moment to find it. Should be somewhere here. Okay, I don't think US 500 has been declining. Maybe if you're looking at it on the lower time frames, but if you're looking at it on the higher time frames, I don't want to disappoint you, but it has actually been rising, as you can see. We've been on a nice steady uptrend. We were in some kind of a corrective channel around here. We're in some kind of a corrective channel. But again, you can see that after the corrective channel, we actually had a very, very nice move to the upside on US 500, and it has actually been on a nice uptrend. Okay, so however, if you look at it on the 1 hour time frame, maybe the decline you're talking about is this decline right here. Okay, right, it's been actually on a decline from a peak. Now guys, US 500 is actually at an all-time high at the moment. Okay, so we're actually at record levels on it, close to record levels. So you need to keep observing it there. I think it could even continue to move higher. As you can see, we had a nice golden cross here, but we're in a nice steady uptrend. So it's actually not declining, it's looking higher. Okay. The next question we have US30 looking for long. Yeah, US30 has had an issue breaking above that 40,000 level that it tried it in March. It failed, and it has tried again yesterday during US session, but again we have seen it also fail again. So we need to wait for the US session to see how it can evolve, but I do not think we are going to get the break soon. So what I am expecting is that we are first going to have a pullback before we see a move higher for the US30, but the channel is looking very strong upside, as you can see very clearly there. This index is looking move strong to the upside. Okay, are there any questions, guys? If there are no more questions, I wish you all an amazing. Oh, just what you're saying, how do you effectively use the 50 and 200-day moving average? So I've been using my moving averages for a long time, and I use them for swing trading. So the 200-day moving average is I usually color it red, and then the 50-day moving average I normally color it blue. So essentially, what I do is that I look for crossovers. Okay, so whenever I get a crossover of the 50-day above the 200-day, that's usually a sign for a buy on the higher time frame. And whenever I get 200-day crossing above the 50-day, that's typically a sign of a sell on the higher time frame. So that's essentially how I use them. So I also use them to gauge trends. Okay. So if I see the 50-day is gapping much further away from the 200-day and it's above it, that shows me strong signs of strong uptrend. And whenever the 200-day has crossed above the 50-day and is gapping also above it, that shows signs of strong downtrend. So that's how I tend to use those two moving averages. Malombe, you're asking, are you expecting a continuation of the Euro USD trend upwards as from next week? Yes, we should see an uptrend, a continuous move to the upside. If you look at it on the H4 time frame, you'll notice that we have been getting actually price has been in a steady decline. Actually, right now, Malombe, I don't know if you guys are seeing my screen. Let me just check that you're seeing my screen. Just a moment. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, so at the moment, Malombe, on the H4 time frame, uh, Euro USD has formed a descending wedge. Okay, so this descending wedge, as you can see, has formed very nicely here and is typically a sign of strong uptrend momentum. So we need to see, we could potentially see a nice pullback before we have a move higher. Now, when we look at terms of seasonality, okay, in terms of seasonality, the May is normally a weak month for risk on assets, and we tend to classify all these risk on assets collectively. Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, the US indices, stocks, Bitcoin, and all the other fellow cryptos. All those ones are what we call um, risk on assets. So whenever the risk on assets are declining, we then say we're having risk of. Now, seasonality wise, May is normally a month where a lot of these things tend to pull back. So maybe we could get the Euro USD steadily declining from these highs and then making another higher low, which could be maybe somewhere around our 50% retracement level there on the H4 time frame. I think you can see it there. If we get a pullback closer to that 50% retracement, then I think that would be our next entry point for us to see a move higher. But you'll also have to monitor and see how it performs also around the 200-day. If we do not get a break below it, then I think we're going to see the price moving and going back to the upside. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Euro USD Malombe. I hope that helps. Just keep observing it to see whether we get a break above the descending wedge. If the break fails and it continues to move to the downside, then the next target most likely is going to be around there. Awesome. That's it from me, guys. I wish you all a happy weekend, and we shall meet again next week on Wednesday. Cheers, guys, and happy trading.